Imagine a fund that survived the great financial crisis, the post-COVID shock, and yet keeps delivering almost 8% annual returns. The people who rely on it don't see the complexity, only that it works. But what if the story behind the numbers tells us more than the numbers themselves?
Chairman Shirley, again, you're a rare witness. You're talking about how well your agency is doing. Now, 25 years ago, Congress did a novel job. They allowed government funds kind of the responsibility of the government to be invested in the broader economy, not just in treasuries with a poor rate of return, but in the broader economy. Now, you hear criticism of that concept. It's privatizing a fund. It is, President Obama used to talk about taking your money to Vegas, that there's a risk associated with it. Y'all started your fund not long before the great financial crisis, but it's done extremely well. So for those critics who would, back then, if you could go back and address them and tell them why they were wrong, give it to me in 45 seconds, please.
It's hard to argue with success. Had the trust has sent us $35 billion over since its inception. Had it sent that same $35 billion, had it retained its investment in the 3.5% yielding government instruments that they were in, it would have run out of money in 2021. The funds at that point invested in fixed income at 3.5%. Currently, the average rate of return is annualized rate of return is 7.9%.
In your current account?
Correct. So 7.9% is what it's annualized. Last year it was 10%. I think I mentioned. It's been higher. It's been lower. But when you invest over time, it is actually again you can't argue with the results.
So going through the great financial crisis and the post-COVID, nonetheless, you've averaged 7.9% return.
And by the way, our projections for the sustainability of the fund are based on an assumption of only 7%, and it actually attained an annualized average of 7.9%.
I polled this regarding another proposal I have, and the American people are a little concerned that Congress will or the executive branch will use the money for its own purposes. Believe it or not, they don't trust Congress. They trust Cassidy and Sanders, but nobody else. But you've got guardrails that make sure that you spoke of the fiduciary responsibility. Please speak to that again.
So one of the keys to the success of this and its independence is governance. The governance of the NRIT rests in the hands of the stakeholders. You have the two principal stakeholders, the people that are paying the money that supports it. They're governing the trust, not us, not the government, and they leave the investment process to the investment professionals. Additionally, you've got the law of trusts. You've got their fiduciary responsibility. They report to Congress on an annual basis. They're audited. By, I think, this last year.
Let me ask you another critical question. And I'm guessing, but please tell me, what was the ratio of worker to retiree when you started? What was it in 2001 when this system was put in place? And what is it now?
Those are numbers, to be precise, that I'd have to supply to you for the.
Can you give me ballpark?
For the record. We're at, no.
That's okay.
No, okay.
But the very fact that you've got more retirees relative to workers and you're about to add one more tells me that that's an issue that you've addressed. Mr. Joines, again, you're a champion for this. And you recently, by the way, congratulations, effectively advocated for the passage of the bipartisan REEF Act, restoring full unemployment benefits to rail workers. So in your experience, the fact that it's fully funded, it's able to take on additional responsibilities, and you still are fully funded for the life of our score, which is 75 years, what difference has this made to those who depend upon this program?
Well, Mr. Chairman, most railroaders out there don't know how the sausage is made with the RRB. But what I can tell you is they have the confidence is when they get sick and they need some assistance, there's somebody there on the other end of the line that can help them. Or when a retiree dies and that widow needs some assistance, they know somebody's there at the RRB. We have all the confidence in the world in our 3 board members to do the right thing when it comes to protecting the trust. And so, there's just a gamut of ways that the railroad workers use the RRB. Whether it's through sickness, short-term sickness benefits, or whether it's unemployment, or getting ready to retire, or annuity, or just all kinds of stuff that we use.
Chairman
but
Schley
we
is
have the
praised
confidence
as
it's
a
gonna be
rare
there when we need
witness,
it.
and the conversation
Senator
quickly
Sanders.
turns to the fund's track record. Critics are mentioned, voices that question privatization, taking your money to Vegas, but the testimony immediately neutralizes them with numbers. $35 billion sent, 7.9% average returns, sustainable for 75 years. The performance is undeniable. The fund's independence is emphasized. Governance, fiduciary responsibility, and audits are highlighted as the invisible scaffolding supporting it. Notice the narrative carefully. The fund is portrayed as almost bulletproof, while skepticism is framed as naive or outdated. Numbers alone become proof without discussing potential risk, trade-offs, or dissenting voices. The language elevates the leaders of the fund. You can't argue with results, confidence in board members, creating a sense of unquestioned authority. Meanwhile, public skepticism is lightly acknowledged, mostly as a passing comment. The audience hears reassurance, not scrutiny. From a third-angle perspective, this is more than a financial story. It's a lesson in narrative control. Emphasize success, acknowledge concerns superficially, and frame oversight as competent but non-intrusive. For viewers, it raises questions. How much trust should be placed in numbers alone? Who decides what counts as risk, and what mechanisms are actually in place when unforeseen crises hit again? The testimony reads as confidence building, yet also quietly shapes perception, suggesting that governance, expertise, and rules are sufficient to protect stakeholders, even in complex, high-stakes systems. So the next time you hear the results speak for themselves, ask yourself which results, and who gets to tell the story. Because in moments like this, the most powerful truths might be the ones left unspoken. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.